I am a dad. I have two beautiful children. And I'm talking to you, I'm speaking to you as a dad. And I want you to know, we cannot protect your children from pro-terror student organizations because the president of Columbia University will not speak out against pro-terror student organizations, because the president of Harvard University, because the president of Stanford, because the president of Berkeley, they will not speak out against pro-terror student organizations. Last Saturday, 14 U.S. citizens were kidnapped into Gaza with 200 other Israeli, French, German, and other nationalities. 14 citizens of the U.S. are right now kidnapped in Gaza. And yet the president of the university is giving her support to pro-terror student organizations.
Please give a very warm welcome to Shai Davidai. I'm just a person. All right.
I'll be honest. Let me be completely honest. That moment, that video completely changed my life. Right now, in a good way and in a bad way, and I'll start with the bad way. Like that moment ruined my life. My life before, obviously October 7 was the biggest tragedy that I've ever lived through. But personally, that moment changed everything for me. But it also gave my life so much more meaning than I've ever had in my life. And a lot of, in the past 4 or 5 months, people have been asking me a lot about that moment. And maybe I can share with you a little bit about what was going on in my mind. And it's a little bit ironic maybe that moment does not start on October 18th when that video was taken. By the way, taken by Jordan Greenspan, my wife, my incredible wife. And it does not start on October 7th, it actually starts in July, last summer. I'm not sure if people remember, but before October 7th, Israel was going through a very, very difficult time, internally difficult time. There were basically two camps in Israel, one that was calling for a judicial reform, and another that saw that as a threat to Israel's identity as a democratic liberal state. And those are disagreements, and this is an important thing to remember. It's okay to have disagreements. It's totally fine because we're one people, although we disagree. And I found myself in the camp that felt that I need to fight for democracy. So I live in New York City, and I would go every few weeks to a pro-democracy protest or rally. And when I spent the summer in Israel, I spend every summer in Israel. My kids go to Keitana, a daycare camp. And on July, I found myself going to more and more protests when I was in Israel. And I was there on the day where they passed the first judicial reform, the first law, Ilat HaSvirut, and that was a shock. That was a shock to everyone. And that night, I was supposed to go on a double date with my wife and my younger brother and his girlfriend in Tel Aviv. And we're like, we're not gonna let those people in government ruin our double date. So we go to the double date, but we realize no, this is different. So instead of going out, we were supposed to go out, eat dinner, we went to see the protest. There was a big spontaneous protest in the center of Tel Aviv. I assume many of you have been to Tel Aviv. In Tel Aviv, through Tel Aviv, there's a large highway, Ayalon, which goes through Tel Aviv. So we went to see the protest, and there are thousands of people, and it's incredible. And at some point, we're standing at the overpass above Ayalon, above the highway, looking down, and we see, if we thought these were a lot of people, we see down there like 20, 30,000 people, mostly young people, about your age and a bit older maybe, but 18 to 25, and they are just like, they are screaming their hearts out. Like, it's clear that they are enacting change. So I look to my brother and to his girlfriend and to my wife, and I say, we have to go down there. We have to go and help those people, right? They are doing our job, and this is not fair. They're fighting for us. We can't let them fight for us. We need to fight with them. Now, when I mean fight is go and stand and, and protest. And why do I say that? Because I was wearing my, my Israeli summer regalia, which is black t-shirt, black shorts, and flip-flops. Definitely not someone who's going out for a fight or even a protest. So we go down to Ayalon, and it's this incredible feeling of change, of democracy, where we're doing something unique. Within 10 minutes of us, we're standing in a circle, there's different circles. Within 10 minutes, this huge Shrek-like ogre comes in and just sucker punches me in the face. My glasses fall off, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? And, I kind of like try to figure this out, and I see a cop, so I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go tell the cop. And then I realized that the guy that punched me is a cop. I know. So we got the hell out of there. We realized like this was happening. So that night, actually, that was a night where things got very bad. A lot of people were physically assaulted by the police that was there. I got off cheap. But I wake up the next morning, and mind you, I'm 40. I know, I look younger. No, I'm 40, and I wake up and I'm in tears. Like I'm experiencing what I realize now is post-trauma. But last time I was punched, I was like maybe 15 in high school, right? And when a cop punches you, it's different because you can't fight back. So I wake up and I just don't know what to do, and I realize that when you get punched in the face, you have two options. You either shut up or you speak up. There's no third option. You either shut up or you speak up. And I realize I want to speak up. Thank you. So, but here's the problem. I don't even know what I want to say. I knew that I can't if I shut up now, then that punch did what it was intended to do, which is to silence me, but I don't know what to say. So I sit there the entire day, and I'm just like trying to figure out, what do I want to say? And at some point, I take out a piece of paper, and I write down in Hebrew, but I'll say it in English, I'm standing here today for the future of the kids of the cop that beat me. So I realized, okay, so this is what I want to say. I want to say something that's constructive. I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at the guy. He thought that he was doing his job. I think he wasn't, but I'm not mad at him. I have a bigger goal here. My goal here is to make society, my country, better. So I know that I have that. And then I have to decide, where do I speak up? Right? Like, it's not enough just to say, like, you need to, where am I going to say? Who am I going to speak with? So I look up on WhatsApp, which is like, Israel basically runs on WhatsApp. And I look up like what's the closest protest, and I find out that there's a protest a few blocks away from where my in-laws live, where I was staying at the time, and it was that afternoon. So I was like, okay, I'm going to that protest, right? So I know what I'm going to say, and I know who I'm going to be with. But now I needed the most important thing, was courage, because I was afraid. I mean, I'm not especially proud of it, but I was afraid. So I put on my summer regalia, black t-shirt, black shorts, flip-flops, because I'm not gonna change who I am for someone else. And I go to this protest, and there are what seemed that probably were 15, but seemed like millions of cops there, and I am just like scared out of my mind. And I take my sign, and I I find a corner where it's like I'm surrounded by people, and I find a corner and I just stand there with my sign. And I'm so scared that I'm closing my eyes. Like I don't want to see the cops. I don't want to see anyone. I'm just standing there and holding that sign. Someone took a picture of me holding that sign. And the reason I know someone took a picture of me holding that sign is 20 minutes into the protest, I get a WhatsApp message from a friend who's not there saying, hey, is that you? Apparently that went Israeli viral, which is about like 20,000 people, but it's still Israeli viral. And then it was written about in the news, and I was interviewed, and I was, and this is not who I am. I'm not someone who's public. I'm not someone who's like, here, let me explain the world to you. I'm just like a human being that was in the wrong place in the wrong time and decided to make it the right place for the right time. And I spent a lot of time thinking, why did that go viral? Fast forward to October. My wife and I are sitting after Shabbat dinner at our home in New York City. We're about to go to sleep. We get a WhatsApp message from her sister, and there's a picture of her 1-year-old son standing up, looking at the TV. And the TV, it says something like thousands of rockets shot into central Israel. So we realized something big is happening. We opened news, and we're glued to the screen for the next, 7 hours. And I tell my wife 2 things. One, I tell her, this is going to be big. Hamas knows what they're doing. This is going to be a full-out war. And unfortunately, I was right. I also tell her, now the world will realize what it's like being us. And unfortunately, I was wrong. Because a few days later, before even a single Israeli soldier entered Gaza, there was already a pro-Hamas protest on my campus at Columbia. And then there was another one. And then there was a third one. And that video was taken on October 18th, 11th day after October 7th, at an anti-vigil, at an anti-terror vigil. And I went to that vigil feeling like I have to say something, but I don't know what. And we were standing in a circle together. It was about 30 of us, 35, and people were telling about their experiences, personal experiences, stories that they've heard. And at some point I decided, okay, I'm speaking up now. And if you see at the beginning of the video, I don't know, well, you didn't see it now, but if you see it, I'm like closing my eyes, I'm holding my hands, and I'm just like centering myself. And at that moment, what I brought to mind is the image of Kfir Bibas, the 9-month-old baby who was kidnapped from his home, from his crib, into Gaza, and we still don't know where he is. And I knew that whatever I'm going to say for Kfir. And that's my clarity. That's what I want to say. And I look around and I see a supportive, small but supportive community. And then I realize, okay, now it's my time and I need the courage. And I speak up. Well, I don't speak up, I shout out. And I'm a very gentle person. I don't know, that just came out of me. And that night, when my wife and I, before we went to sleep, I told her, right before we fell asleep, I told her, if that video, which we put online, hits 50,000, maybe 100,000 views, everything's going to change, right? Everything's going to be great. The university, I'm going to get a phone call from the lawyer saying, please stop talking, we'll do whatever you want. Yes. Second time, I was absolutely wrong. We wake up and that video exploded. Like, by my counting, it's been seen by about 15 million people. That morning after that, the night after the video, was the first time that I smiled since October 7th. Now, it wasn't a big smile. There wasn't like any teeth showing, but it was a smile that there might be a little bit of hope because people are reacting, that people are resonating. Now, why did I speak up? Because when I saw the protests on my campus, and I have to remind everyone here, I've been in academia for so long that people forget, like, yes, I'm a lifelong student, but I'm a professor. That's also my job. Seeing my boss, say nothing to something like that, I felt like I was being punched in the face 1,000 times. And when you get punched in the face, you have two options. You either shut up or you speak up. I wasn't going to let a huge policeman shut me up. So of course I'm not going to let a university president shut me up. And that's why I spoke up. Ever since that day, I haven't stopped speaking up. Sometimes people get annoyed with me speaking up. Sometimes people find inspiration. I have only one goal when I'm speaking up, and that's to normalize speaking up. Because all of you here already know what you want to say. That's why you're here. You have that clarity. That first important thing about speaking up. You already know what you want to say. Now, some of your messages are different, but in their essence is you don't get to determine for me whether I have a right to exist. I have a right to exist, we have a right to exist, and Israel has a right to exist. That's number one. That's the clarity of the message, but that's not enough for speaking up. The second thing that I was looking for when I spoke up is something that you also already have, which is community. You know what you're going to say, but you also know that you're not going to be alone when you say it. If you look around you, you have an amazing community right here, and I'm sure you have an amazing community wherever you go. So clarity and community. But then we have a third thing, and that's the secret ingredient for speaking up, which is the courage to speak up. Because honestly, speaking up is not a simple thing to do. It's scary. There's a lot of people who will try to shut you down. And to them I say, I guess I'm doing something right if you're trying to shut me down. So if I can have you take one thing from this, is you have the clarity, you have the community. Now it's time for you to muster up some courage and really speak up. Speak up at your schools, speak up online, speak up in classes. Be safe when you speak up, be smart when you speak up, but speak up. Now, I'll finish with one thing. A lot of people have been telling me, this too shall pass. We've been through this before. This is not our first rodeo. This too shall pass. And I believe them. Our people have been through much, much worse, and we have persevered. My goal is not to make sure that this too shall pass. My goal is to make sure that this will never happen again. And that should be all of your goals. That when you grow up, and you are growing up, when you're older and you have children of your own, that they don't even know what anti-Semitism is, because this is our fight, and this is the last time we're going to fight this fight. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to this weekend, I think way more than you are. So please, if you see me, come say hi, let's talk. But I just want to see all the courageous people out there. So thank you, everyone, and I'll see you in this weekend.